Hi, welcome to the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight, finally, my guest is Stephanie Marisca. I have been trying to get Stephanie on forever because I've known her forever, and I am thrilled to have you. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Lori, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Her name has been kicking around the coaching community as long as mine has, and I think maybe a touch longer. Let me tell you, she is an ICF credential coach. She's a certified mentor coach. She's a coach educator and a facilitator. She's also the New England 2011 Coach of the Year. Whoa. And she kind of specializes, she does a whole bunch of stuff, but the things that I'm really interested in, she specializes in coaching presence, creativity coaching, and sound and energy healing. So we're lucky we have at least 28 minutes. I think we might need more, but we're going to get started on that. Stephanie, tell me, how did you get into coaching? Because my thing is, none of us wake up and go, or none of us when we're in first grade go, I want to be a coach.
Yeah, right.
So how did
Well,
you do that?
yeah, so it's an interesting story. I have a lot of different career lives, and one of them, I was a director of programming for a holistic healing center, yoga center, holistic healing center. And so my job was to hire all the people to come in and do workshops. And I was introduced to a gentleman named Alan Seal. And he had just written his first book, and this is like going back now, I think 2004, perhaps 2003, something like that. And really loved Alan's work and did several of his workshops. And one day I was sitting in his workshop and I said, I want to do what he's doing. People are transforming their lives. And so I got serious about looking at coaching, and I looked around at a couple of different schools, and nothing really quite rang true. And then finally one year I just bit the bullet. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it or how it was all going to happen, but I just trusted that it would. And that set me off on my journey. And quite honestly, I haven't looked back. It's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And I so appreciate all the wonderful people that I get to meet through coaching.
That's amazing. What year did you decide, okay, I'm gonna, whatever this coaching thing is, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
it?
it was 2005,
Ah,
and started out on my coaching in 2005. I got certified just after, just in the beginning of 2006, and was lucky enough to jump into being a facilitator at that time with the coaching school that I was attending, and just it unfolded from there. I got my PCC several years later. I became a mentor coach. So, it just kind of unfolded. I followed the journey, and it's been wonderful. Yeah.
I beat you by a year. Haha. Mine was 2004, and I had no idea what coaching was, but I knew there was a show on television called Starting Over. Six women in a house in Chicago with a life coach, and I'm like, I would kill to be in that house, to start over. And then somehow, yeah, I followed the journey too, and it was like, and everybody kept saying, you could be a coach, and it's like, okay, I'll be a coach. So I took the training, and it was like, oh, this is so good. I got to share it. I just, and that's kind of, I've been always involved after that. So yeah, I knew you and I were pretty much parallel on the time frame thing.
Well,
So
it's been fun working with you along the way too,
it
Lori.
has. That's been one of the joys for sure. And long may we continue.
Yes, right, right.
So tell me, I don't know, what are you doing? I want to know what changes you've seen in the coaching world since 2005, because there have been a masterful
So
change.
many.
Well, you could do since 2000, since 2020, but let's start with the beginning.
Right, we could just the last year.
Really, just the
Um,
last month.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's see. In 2005, coaching was not really as known as it is today. I remember back then we would always say we can't wait till people say, who's your coach versus who's your therapist. And now,
Or what do you coach? Basketball or football?
yeah, right,
Yeah, that
exactly,
was it. Yeah.
exactly. Nobody really understood what a professional coach was or what they did. And over that time, I think, you know, it became certainly corporate wise, internal, it became more important. And I think for people personally, they would meet different people who knew someone who had a coach or had an experience where something changed for them, and, you know, a transformation at a crossroads, and a coach was there to support them. And so I think more and more people became involved in coaching. I think more and more people got interested in coaching.
Mm.
And I can't say there was any specific one thing that I noticed that was changing. I know as a coach educator, there were more and more people coming into the trainings, which I think people became more intrigued with the idea of what coaching was about, that it was purposeful, that you were really making impact, and that it provides a tremendous amount of flexibility. You know, and I laugh about that now because of what we have experienced in the last year,
Yeah.
and how much flexibility and how agile we needed to be, you know, and people working from home and all of that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I got involved in coaching. I wanted to be in charge of my own income. I wanted to have flexible hours. I was a single mom with 2 adolescents, and I wanted to be available for them after school, go to their sport games. And coaching was the flexibility for me to do that. Now, I didn't start out full-time coaching right away. My lifestyle didn't afford that for me. But I had a part-time and a part-time coaching, and then as life happens, right, things happen, and the universe says it's time. And so you know, I had a big turn of events, and then went into coaching at full time, and that's been now probably almost I don't know, 8 or 9 years full-time coaching. So yeah, so it's been great. It's been great. And then from there that evolved, you know, different niches and things.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people who are in coaching or getting into coaching. One, you're not going to make $100,000 a year in your pajamas on the phone all day. That's not how it works. It's a business, and you got to
Right.
do that. You know, took me 10 years to transition, like you. I think I took a little longer into full-time coaching. I kept my side gig going all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And don't worry about your niche. And I know that goes against my training school and your training school. But it's like your niche is going to call you. It's
Yeah.
going, I started out health and wellness. I'm nowhere near that now, and just go with the flow. And I guess oh, just thought of this. Brilliant. I guess that's what coaching does. It gives you the tools to go with the flow. It's like
Yeah.
you can be flexible, like you said, adjustable. So, how did you get into? I love executive presence, but I think I like creativity coaching more. What? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, well, you know, I had been coaching for a while, and a lot of the coaching that I do supports coaches to be successful. I'm very passionate about that. And like you said, right, I think, you know, to niche or not to niche, that is the question, you know, that a good niche will just find you. It's really, what is your message and who resonates to your message? But that's like a whole nother show, I think.
Right, right.
Um, but for me, I I wasn't, you know, it was understanding what was important to me. And creativity was a big piece of my life. And I like to paint. And I got involved with coaching some creatives. I was coaching a graphic designer, I was coaching a writer, and I had so much fun coaching them. It was just so fun. And there were so many things that we got to do in the sessions that were creative and alive. And so that was a particular client that I really enjoyed, because we kind of had this quiet, understood language around creativity. And then I kind of explored a creativity coaching program based on the Kaizen method.
Mm.
And you know, it just kind of evolved. And so right now, I would say in my practice, I'm really trying to decide, you know, how do I bring it more alive? I'm very active in different art associations in my area. And so I'd like to bring a coaching methodology into that area, because I think many times creatives, we get stuck. And how could a coaching philosophy help them think about their creative life in a very different way, and in a way that allows for more opportunity and potential. So,
Don't you currently have a painting hanging in a gallery somewhere or with a word
do.
on it or
Yeah,
something? Yeah.
yeah, I do. I do. I'm actually a member of a cooperative gallery here in Newport, Rhode Island, because I'm based in Rhode Island. And I've been part of that gallery now, I think, for about 3 years. And it's really fun. It's a cooperative gallery, which means all the members really run the gallery. So we host different exhibitions throughout the year, and then we each get to exhibit our work on a regular basis. So I have a designated area, and I always have work on display there, and that's been very fun and so interesting. So it has to keep me painting, because I always need to keep changing my work.
Fantastic, fantastic.
It's fun.
So when I saw that you're doing creativity coaching, it's a question I have because I don't feel that I'm that creative. Can people be coached to be creative, or do you just bring out what they already have?
Oh, I love that question, Laurie. First of all, I happen to believe that we are all creative, that inside of us, we have, it is our right brain. It is the creative life of our right brain. And even if we don't think we're creative, we are creating something every day, no matter what it is we do. We always approach things with an idea, or an inspiration to explore something. So that creative life is there. I just say it needs to be awakened, and it can be awakened. And how do you choose to be creative in your life? Whether it's how do you create your life, which is a much bigger question, and how do you decide that at some point in your life you'd like to take up a hobby, or you'd like to paint, or you'd like to write, or whatever that creative outlet might be, singing, dancing, it could be a million different things. And how do you just begin to allow yourself permission to explore it? And it is only our lack of awareness to our creative life that keeps us from it, and what we tell ourselves about being creative that stops us from being creative.
That is so interesting because I've had such a chaotic life, and people go, "You should write a book," and I go, and I like to write, and it's like, nah, not me. I can't write a book. I can't do that. And nobody said I can't. I mean, I could even self-publish if it's that bad, but or that good, whatever. But you're right. I think we stop ourselves from being creative, and I don't know. I think I'm always in a comparison mode. It's like, I could never paint like Stephanie. I don't paint, But it's like that's the good thing because you can be who you are and express yourself in any way you want. So is that what you do with your clients? Do you break down that barrier, or are they already there and just saying, oh, how can I make a living out of this, or how can I continue this?
Yeah, well, I mean, coaching is really about what does the client want. And all we're doing really is, as the coach, is facilitating that journey, right? We're opening up a pathway for them to access that. So what does the client want? Do they want to make a living at their creative life? Do they want to just have permission to have more leisure time and do something that they love to do? Do they want to explore something new because they want to exercise their brain? Like, it could be a million different reasons why people want to develop their creative life. And what's so interesting, Laurie, is that I find many times when I'm coaching people completely unrelated to creativity, that if something arises where the question is that I say to them, well, how do you express yourself creatively? Like, and they'll say, well, I don't know what you mean.
Deer in the
And
headlights time. That would
yeah,
be me. It's like, what? Yeah.
and oftentimes I'll find that people have a creative life that they're not nurturing. And that is why they're feeling a gap or a malaise or something's missing.
Mm.
And if by nature, so like people, like if we just go to language styles and learning styles, you know, if people are typically visual in their learning style, there is a creative aspect to them that maybe isn't, that they may not even be aware of. But those ideations, the images, the visual language is something that if that's not nurtured, you know, so I'll give you a perfect example of this. I was coaching an executive intern, not as an internal coach, as an external coach. And this coach was, I mean, this client, she was amazing. And she was the kind of person that was creating all sorts of programs, um, different kinds of new systems in the organization. And that creative side of her was so strong. And she wasn't developing that in her personal life. So there was this gap of her creating all of these systems, but there was this other piece of her that needed to create just for the sake of creating.
Wow.
And it was so fascinating when she was able to connect to that, and then the kinds of things that she was choosing to follow up on to work towards her goal were more personal things that she wanted to do creatively. And that then started to feed her professional life in a completely different way. So like when people say, I'm not creative, well, you are creative. If you like to move your furniture around, if you like to play with plants, like you have a beautiful
Bunch of things.
arrangement of plants behind you, like that takes some aesthetic eye to arrange those. So it automatically says to me, I'm sorry, Laurie, I think you are creative, you know? So, you know, it's those kinds of things that we don't really recognize where we're creative. And yet every day we're doing something creative. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I think back to when I had my geriatric care business, and there, I know there were people, there were other geriatric care managers who didn't do written reports and were backed up on billing because they couldn't write. And so it reminded me, don't ever take for granted the fact that you can write and that you're not
Yeah.
afraid to write. Yeah.
Mm.
And so I think I love that. That what a great reminder that is. It's like, yeah, don't take for granted the little skill, the big skills, the little skills, whatever the dimension
Yeah.
that you have.
And you know, as a coach, right, we're always taking for granted all the things that come naturally to us.
Yes.
Right. So, like, I don't particularly like to express myself through writing. I find it tedious, but there are other things that I like to do. So, you know, and that's something, even when I was working with coaches, as you know, they were trying to get off the ground, or, you know, I have a forum of coaches called the Coaches Cafe. And we would talk about how do you get out there? And I would always say, you know, do what you love to do. Don't try to write on a blog if writing's not your thing. Don't try to, you know, be out there you know, doing a video if you don't feel comfortable being verbal and you know, so you got to find the thing that you really are a genius at and go with that and let the energy of that and that natural way of being in the world really propel that excitement and that passion so that people get it, like they see you and they get it because you're doing something that you love doing.
Let me put you on the spot and
Yeah.
ask you, if you could give us one tip on how to unearth our creativity, to sort of dig it out, what would that be?
Ah, one tip.
Or trick?
First of all, I think what I would say is, what does being creative mean to me? You know, that's like a basic coaching question.
Right, right.
But you have to first know, what does that mean for me in my life? And I think if you can begin to sit with that, identify that, explore that, take it with you on a walk, you know, take it with you as you're brushing your teeth in the morning, you know, like just be with that question. Like, if I was living a creative life, what would I be doing? And just see what emerges. That will begin to spark that
Mm.
ideation that creative life inside of you, and you might end up discovering something that you didn't even know was there.
I
And
love
how
the
fun would
question.
that be?
I love the question. If I was leading a creative life, what would I be doing? That opens a little door
Yeah,
that
right?
leads through. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of creative, I look on Facebook and I see a picture of Stephanie on the beach with a gong that's bigger than her. And I go, I wonder what she's doing. And then I find that she does sound and energy healing. Tell us about that.
Oh boy. Let's see. When I was at the as a program director at the Holistic Center, I was introduced to a man named Don Conroe, who actually is a native to Manhattan. And he was doing something called holistic resonance, gong sound healing. And we had him come and do a series of workshops, and I just fell in love with the whole modality, the gong, what the gong did, the sound. And that was in 2003.
Wow.
So I've been at it for now quite a while.
Yeah.
And studied with him for several years. There were a few of us that were there. We formed an ensemble together, and we started doing these public, what we call Gong Baths, where it's basically a meditation. It's like you come and we bathe you in sound with these large gongs, and you just go into a deep, deep state of relaxation. And it is very rejuvenating. You know, people, you think to yourself, how could anybody fall asleep with that enormous sound? And yet people will go into the deepest state of sleeping rest, snoring, And these are people that, they don't sleep at all, but they'll come to a gong bath and sleep for 45 minutes to an hour. So yeah, it's been a passion of mine. We did that ensemble for about 5 years. Then we broke up, different people moved away. And then I just kept on doing it on my own. And every year we have this fantastic event on the beach here in Rhode Island. It's a full moon gong bath on the beach. And people come from all over to attend. I think the largest attendance we had was maybe about 175 people one summer. And unfortunately, because of the last year, due to the pandemic, we haven't been doing the gong baths because they're typically inside. But as things are beginning to open up more and more, I'm hoping that starting the spring and summer of this year, we'll be doing some more outdoor events and being able to be inside again as well. So yeah, it's work that I really, really love. I love playing the gong as much as I love receiving it. And it's really been a joy for me.
That's interesting. Playing the gong. Is it more than just banging it? I mean, is there,
Yeah.
is it like the bowls? Well, I know you can get different sounds out of the bowls if
Yeah.
you know the
Yeah.
technique. Yeah.
Yeah. So the bowl is like a gong. It's just shaped differently. Um, there's definitely, we talk about approaching the gong, and we don't play the gong. We hold the mallets, and it's connecting with the consciousness of that experience that allows you then to approach that gong and play whatever needs to be played for the people that are gathered. So in every event, we never hear the same thing twice unless we record it. And that in and of itself, I find extraordinary. Sometimes I'll be playing, and although there are basic strokes and things that we know as a gong player, as a gong master, but sometimes they make sounds that I haven't heard before. And sometimes the sound is really full, and sometimes the sound is really soft, and it has everything to do with the energies of the people that are gathered and what is really being called from their energetic field that needs clearing. So the gongs have a way of clearing all the debris of our life, like, all the things, we have this internal resonance that's pure all the time and in perfect harmony. And then life gets in the way. We get stuck at a traffic light. We get, on a long line, whatever it might be. And it creates dissonance in our energetic field. So when you come to a gong bath, it gives you the opportunity to retune our internal frequency and allow that all to kind of float away and then move into this deep state of relaxation. It is the one thing, meditation process, that your mind could be chattering, 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 and then all of a sudden your mind, you drift off, and then the gong bath is over and you think, oh, where did I go?
Ah,
So it's really pretty amazing that way.
I like to go on trips where I don't
Yeah,
go anywhere.
yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes you
you
can go on a trip too.
think, yeah. Is this just a Rhode Island thing, or do you think that the
No.
people
No, as a matter of fact, in Manhattan, in New York, there's lots of gong players. There's gong players pretty much all over the world. My teacher, Don Conroe, has spent more than 50 years traveling the globe, teaching this work. And really in every, I would almost say in, I don't know how many countries it's represented in, but it is really pretty much across the globe. You will find gong players. And I think all you need to do is search for gong bath, sound healing, and see what comes up in your area. But there are so many people that are doing it now. It's grown exponentially just in the last 10 years.
I think as soon when I saw Stephanie on Facebook, I wrote her and I go, I'm so jealous. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to do it.
Oh,
So
they do that. They do it in New York. I'll have to send you a couple of locations where you
please,
could go.
I would
Yeah.
love that. And meanwhile, everybody start looking up sound baths or whatever. So the healing part of it is, and we only have like 90 seconds. The
Yeah.
healing part of it is mostly relaxation and just getting in touch with your
Yeah.
body and the energy
You know,
then.
yeah, I don't even like to think of it as healing, Laurie, because if we think of ourselves as whole, like in coaching, we think of ourselves as creative, resourceful, and whole. And so if we just think of ourselves as whole, there's no healing that needs to be done, but there's a realignment, there's a retunement, right? It's kind of like, how do we reharmonize? It's kind of like tuning a piano that's out of tune,
Oh,
right? The
like
piano's not broken. It just needs to be
that.
retuned. And so it's the same thing. We're not broken. We don't really need healing, but we just need to be retuned.
Oh my gosh, what a great metaphor. I need to find a tuner. We have 30 seconds. Stephanie, I can only tell you that I know we kept talking about this last year and then it got all pushed off this year. I am so glad that we finally got to do this because I had a feeling I was going to learn a lot from you, and I did, and just find out some things that I had no idea that you were doing. So thank you so much for being a guest.
Oh, thank you,
So,
Laurie. It was so much fun having this chat with you.
really, and feel free. I mean, you have an open invitation. You can come back and tell me all about coaching presence. I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so thank you,
Excellent.
Stephanie, and I'll see you in the trenches.
Okay, Laurie. Thank you so much. Be well.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.